Good morning. Glad that you're up with us here on 13 Sunrise this morning. Happy Thursday to you. We are inching towards the weekend. Felicia Lawrence is in for Julia Moffitt this morning. I'm Julia along with Chuck. And I hope your Thursday's off to a good start. Can you say that it is so far?
Yes, we can all say that it is so far. We're here, we're good to go, and we're preparing for the weekend, and it could be a wet one.
Wet and windy and everything else. And you know, Helene, as we've been talking about all week, folks, we said this has the potential to be a major hurricane. It will be a major hurricane. And I want to show you right now, of course, this is going to have an effect on us, as Felicia mentioned, tomorrow heading into the weekend. But right now, we're looking for a catastrophic storm surge along the Big Bend coast. I'll show you what that is in a moment. The life-threatening winds are near the eye wall tonight. All of these are words printed out this morning by the National Hurricane Center. And there could be flash flooding, mudslides, and of course, tornadoes. So here's the rain spreading up. So here's Bradenton, Tampa, and look at all the heavy rain already moving in to Tallahassee and Jacksonville. This is the whole state of Florida. These things, you know, I've mentioned throughout the years, my biggest concern with this outside of storm surge are tornadoes, and there is a tornado warning by Naples and Bonita Springs right now as this storm continues to surge off. By the way, Category 1, but just barely. It's almost a 2, 90-mile-per-hour winds, and we expect this to increase to a Category 2 later on. And I'm going to talk much more about this in just a few minutes, but let's get to us, okay? 60 here, Muncie's at 55, Bloomington's at 59. If you are headed to the airport this morning, the weather here is fine, but it's not obviously in other parts of the country. So we do have a number of cancellations at Indianapolis International, Tampa, St. Pete, Fort Myers, then Charlotte, Louisville, Baltimore, Raleigh, all with delays. And I expect that by this afternoon, we're going to have ground stops at many of those airports in Florida. Today, 8 a.m. 59, 76 tomorrow. And then we're talking about a weather impact alert day tomorrow. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Deep breath. All right, let's talk about traffic. And we still have this 465 westbound ramp to Man Road closed. But we're getting closer. We're about a month away from the opening out there. And I know so many of you on the south side will be so thankful to see that open because you don't have to go all the way up to Kentucky to do your workaround to get to Man Road. Whoops, looks like our camera went dark there. But that's on the south side. No problems, by the way, on the south side. And also this area at 69, that northbound ramp of 82nd Street, everybody's rejoicing. That's finally open since this July of 2023. Traffic moving well. Notice the brake tapping as we get closer to 82nd. Much more weather and traffic. And I'll have the latest storm track on Helene in just a few minutes, Felicia.
Chuck, thank you so much. And our top story here at 6, city-county councilors are one step closer to taking action on Indy's street takeovers.
This has been an ongoing process, and they now recommend the full council should sign off on a proposal that would punish those involved. Let's get to Sia New Yorker, who is following this story for us downtown. Good morning, Sia.
Good morning, Julia. Good morning, Felicia. City leaders say that these spitting incidents are a public safety issue that need to be dealt with before it gets worse. Now, Wednesday evening, they met members of the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee and took the first step to make sure street takeovers end. They voted unanimously for a, quote, do pass recommendation that would impose stricter penalties and fines for participants and bystanders. Metro Police have arrested more than a dozen people over the last 2 weekends, some caught on camera doing donuts, starting street fires, and causing violence. Under the proposal, participants would face up to $250 in fines. Their cars would be impounded for at least 30 days, and spectators could be fined up to $100.
We believe these events have resulted in shots fired and persons shot as these events break up throughout our city. Just 2 weeks ago, IMPD vehicles sustained over $8,300, again, $8,300 in damage at the hands of individuals engaged in illegal street takeover activities across the city.
This will now head to the full City-County Council on October 7th for a vote. Now, coming up on Sunrise at 6:30, hear from some of those who say that some of the provisions in this need to be a little harsher. Ladies?
Sia New Yorker reporting this morning. Thank you so much.
Well, right now, an IMPD officer is facing a different charge after being accused of several child sex crimes before. Kamal Bola now faces a charge of invasion of privacy, this time in Hendricks County. He's also accused of violating a court order connected to his sex crimes case. You may remember police arrested Bola earlier this month for those child molestation charges. Court documents reveal he denied those claims, but then later admitted to them. IMPD Chief Chris Bailey has recommended Bola for termination.
Well, this morning, the family of the victims killed in a double murder in Allen County are sharing their photos. Matthew Johnson and Christina Dixon were found dead in a river. So we told you yesterday about court documents that credit the two with tipping Richmond police off about a major amount of drugs. Well, Richmond police later told 13 News the two were not working as informants when they were killed. However, they say they cannot rule it out that the two never worked for police. The suspect in their killing, Dominic Washington, is charged with their murder. And this morning, a man is under arrest for a fatal hit and run over the weekend.
And we are now learning more about the victim in this case. Let's get to Gina Glaros, who's been following this story and hearing how his parents are remembering him this morning. Hi, Gina.
Good morning, ladies. That victim, Kason Jackson, only had his motorcycle for 5 months before he died. His father says he was just the greatest kid. His family providing pictures of Jackson. This video was from earlier that day, having breakfast with mom and dad. His parents say he graduated from Ball State. Kason's father, Anthony Jackson, says he had his whole life ahead of him.
We'll never have a chance to be grandparents. We'll never get to see him took so much more away than just our kid. Just so much potential ahead of him.
In this surveillance video from Saturday night, you can see the light turning from yellow to red, and that's when Jackson and the truck collide on Michigan Road near Kessler Boulevard West Drive. Jackson later died at the hospital. Police were able to track down the suspect after finding his phone and truck that they say he ditched after the crash. Court documents show the driver never even had a license. He not only faces a charge for that, but for also failing to remain at the scene of an accident resulting in death and obstruction of justice. Felicia.
All right, Gina, thank you. And this morning, we're getting an up-close look at a massive project to improve the drinking water in the Martindale-Brightwood neighborhood. The underground pipes are decades old and pose a huge health risk. Right now, Citizens Energy is replacing the pipes for free for thousands of customers. The line is an underground pipe that pulls in water from the main line to your home. So those old pipes, they're made with lead and can be dangerous. 2 years ago, Citizens announced the multi-year program. Elizabeth Gore, a longtime resident in Martindale-Brightwood, fought to get the pipes replaced.
When I turned into the street, my heart was just overflowed with the idea that something is being done and that our community is now getting what they deserve, some attention.
Now, 3,000 homes are getting an upgrade in the neighborhood and around the city.
All right, this morning, the I-69 northbound ramp connecting to 82nd Street is finally back open. It's a sigh of relief for drivers, but it's also a major burden lifted off of business owners in that area. So both of the north and southbound ramps have been shut down as part of that large construction project. If you drive this way, you know what we're talking about. So while drivers won't be able to use the southbound exit just yet, that northbound exit is ready to go. 13 News talked with business owners in the area, and they tell us it's been a bit of an inconvenience.
We can no longer get the guests or the patients or even the nurses or employees from the hospital from 82nd Street because the traffic is so bad. It takes them roughly 20 minutes to make a 3-minute drive. And when you're on an hour lunch, it is a little bit of an inconvenience.
Yeah, Wood says he is hoping that with this ramp being back open, more people will start trickling back into his restaurant. NDOT says the southbound ramp will be open in the next few more months, so just hold tight.
Well, the city of Elwood may add a new tribute to Officer Noah Chenevez, who was killed in the line of duty 2 years ago. Congresswoman Victoria Spartz just introduced a bill to name a post office in Elwood after Chenevez. The entire Indiana delegation supported the bill. It will rename the post office on North Anderson Street the Officer Noah Jacob Chenevez Post Office Building.
Happening tonight, there's a panel focused on amplifying voices of black men in Indianapolis and encouraging voter turnout in November. So the Black Male Voter Initiative and the Marion County Democratic Party are coming together to host that discussion tonight. It'll include several community leaders at Martin University from 6 to 7:30. It is free and open for anyone to come out.
The Fever's postseason run is over after a loss in Game 2 to the Sun, 87-81.
Yeah, well, Caitlin Clark had a better showing in Game 2 with 25 points. We know it wasn't enough to keep them in the playoffs, so Aaliyah Boston also added 16 points and 19 rebounds in that game.
And the Fever and Sun, they were tied up late in the fourth quarter. The Fever briefly took the lead, though, before the tides turned, and the Sun closed out the game and the series. Coming up at 6:45, Dominic Miranda is in Connecticut looking at the pivotal moments in the game that ended the Fever season. We've got more to come. The Colts are coming off their first win of the season. Last weekend, they beat the Bears. Now they have a big challenge ahead against the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. The team was back on the practice field yesterday, game planning for Sunday's game.
Anthony Richardson has shown flashes of greatness this season, but so far is yet to put together a complete game. Richardson says he's focused on mastering this preparation. Sunday's game is at home at Lucas Oil Stadium, likely a closed stadium there. Good morning, Chuck.
Yeah, I think so, because we'll probably have rain. Hey, we're tracking Helene this morning. Here's the latest. 90-mile-per-hour sustained winds. It's a high Category 1. It could be a Category 3 by later this afternoon. And look at the storm surge. The area of purple you see, Florida's Big Bend, 12 to 20 feet. Life-threatening storm surge later today. The effects here, 30 to 50-mile-per-hour winds tomorrow. We'll have a timeline for you next on Sunrise.
Well, Israel is warning of a major ground offensive into Lebanon this morning as they trade waves of strikes against Hezbollah. Now, U.S. and global leaders are pushing for a ceasefire deal before a regional war breaks out.
And new this morning, the mayor of New York is being indicted in a federal corruption investigation. Now we're hearing the mayor's sharp words for the accusations being made against him. That's at 6:15. We'll be right back.